a man shot in the head.
How do you think the district attorney has handled your case?
He didn't take it serious.
A woman brutally beaten.
I was disregarded.
Violent criminals let off with questionable punishment.
No, I've never seen anything like this.
The victims are now demanding the district attorney be removed.
We can't keep doing this. We have to get this changed.
The complaints against this DA are so numerous, the state attorney general has launched an investigation.
Denver 7 investigative reporter Jennifer Kowaleski tracked down the DA, whose definition of justice is also infuriating a mayor, a police chief, and countless other city leaders.
It is unheard of.
He's facing an unprecedented state investigation.
He's making a mockery of the judicial system
and risking the votes that got him elected.
Our sincere hope is that he's recalled.
It's a huge controversy in South Central Colorado.
This has gotten extremely serious. It's putting the community at risk when we're not holding people accountable.
City leaders have had enough with San Luis Valley District Attorney Alonzo Payne.
We're no longer going to tolerate mediocrity in the DA's office.
But to understand why Alamosa city leaders are involved with recalling a sitting district attorney,
What do I think about him?
you have to hear the stories of victims.
I don't think I should say that.
Do you believe the person who shot you has been held accountable?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Questions center on how the DA handled the prosecution of Danny Pruitt's case.
Bullet holes right here.
A total stranger shot him in the back of the head at a Black Lives Matter protest. This surveillance video from a downtown store captured the moment that left Pruitt on life support.
There was no reason for it, When the bullet hit my head, it was the loudest ringing you'll ever hear.
28-year-old James Marshall was charged with attempted murder and assault. But in the 11th hour, the DA reached a plea deal.
It was to my surprise that they offered him that plea bargain 3 days before the trial.
Here's where it gets interesting. The DA allowed the gunman to plead the charge down to tampering with a dead body.
For a little while, I thought the district attorney was trying to call me a dead person,
And the questionable plea deals continued.
I was completely disrespected.
Lonnie Welch is a survivor of domestic violence.
I was told I would never be believed. Nobody would take it seriously. And DA Payne proved that.
Welch's ex-fiance was arrested for third-degree assault and stalking.
This is my offender's history.
But she says he, too, was convicted on a drastically reduced charge of stealing a phone.
The second plea, I was notified the Friday before the court. No, I did not agree. I filed a complaint with the Victims' Rights Board.
She's now one of at least 8 victims who filed complaints against Payne. A state investigation found his office likely violated victims' rights.
It has been forwarded to the Attorney General.
And for the first time ever, the Attorney General is now investigating a district attorney for violations of the Victims' Rights Act.
He's not doing his job.
Back in Alamosa,
It feels very strange. It's not something I think any of us ever thought we would be involved in.
Alamosa City Manager Heather Brooks says council passed an ordinance allowing the city to use taxpayer money to try and recall the DA.
This is unprecedented.
The city has taken the unusual step of adding a tab to its official website titled DA Concerns.
We don't need to be over the top on crime, but we need to have consequences. And right now, there's nearly 0 consequences.
He's making these sweetheart plea deals.
Alamosa Mayor Ty Coleman says it's time for the district attorney to go.
He needs to be recalled, and someone else needs to be in that role that's going to do their job.
Alamosa Police Chief Ken Anderson is also calling on the DA to step down.
Let somebody take over that can do the job.
Anderson says officers have conducted 40 narcotic operations in the last 9 months, none of which resulted in a single trial. He says other questionable plea bargains involve murder charges.
What would you want to say to the district attorney?
Why are we not holding offenders accountable for their actions? We need to get Mr. Payne out of office as soon as possible, or he needs to resign and realize that he is not capable of doing this job.
Is anyone able to get a hold of the district attorney?
Well, from what I understand, there have been a lot of people who've tried, but unfortunately, they haven't had much luck.
After our calls went unanswered, we were able to track down the DA. Outside his Alamosa office.
Mr. Payne, we've been trying to get in touch with you. Jennifer Kowaleski with Denver 7.
Jennifer, how are you?
And he agreed to go in front of our cameras the next day.
Sorry, yesterday it was just...
The DA fired back against Alamosa city leaders and was unapologetic for offering plea deals.
They may disagree with my approach to prosecution, and I understand their perspective, but I do not agree with their approach to it either. And they are not the district attorney, I am.
Payne says he's living up to campaign promises to change the narrative and push progressive criminal justice reform.
They need rehabilitation, and DOC, It's not providing it. County jails can't afford to provide it.
Why are you pleading down so many crimes, including serious ones?
I think that is a function that happens in every prosecutorial office. We also have to recognize that we have limited resources.
Help me understand why limited resources means you need to plead down murder charges.
Because we don't have the staffing capacity, and from my perspective, our rate of plea bargaining is no different than anyone else.
But it's worth noting, previous DAs had the same funding challenges and avoided this kind of controversy. Payne promised to provide the data proving his claims about plea bargains, but never did.
The City of Alamosa is funding a recall effort against you.
I believe what the City of Alamosa is doing is unconstitutional. They are using taxpayer dollars for political purposes.
Payne did take some accountability for violating victims' rights.
So the Attorney General is right. We've been very busy, and there have been some things that we have missed with victims' rights.
From Payne's perspective, he's trying to change the criminal justice system.
I'm doing it differently, and I tend to do it differently. City of Alamosa does not run the San Luis Valley.
And the DA says he's not going anywhere.
Do you have any plans to resign as they're asking you to do?
No, hell no.
From victims and city leaders' perspective, his questionable plea deals are putting their community at risk, and they'll do whatever it takes to force him out of office.
He's doing a disservice to the community he swore that he was going to help protect.
And this is just the beginning of the allegations against Payne. A judge recently cited him with contempt of court, but the DA doubled down on that too, saying he's convinced he's done nothing wrong. I'm Denver 7 investigative reporter Jennifer Kowaleski.